Something is poisoning the American people, and we know that the primary culprits.
When was the last time you looked at a package of meat and truly wondered what was inside? You see neat labels, promises of organic and all natural, but can you trust them anymore? A recent 2025 USDA Food Safety and Inspection Service report revealed a disturbing rise in contamination risks linked to high-speed meat processing plants, which is up by nearly 15% since last year. And it's not just about bacteria. A January 2025 study from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health found that traces of harmful chemical residues were present in over 4 out of 10 antibiotic-free poultry products tested across major U.S. grocery chains. So here's the question no one wants to ask if even premium and healthy options are quietly slipping through safety cracks. How safe is the bargain meat that millions of working-class families rely on every week? And worse, what are these hidden risks really doing to our health? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. In this video, we expose shocking new findings about the meat sitting on America's grocery shelves right now, and why Robert F. Kennedy Jr. warned you don't ever buy meat from these grocery stores. Again. Number 1. Whole Foods Market. You ever notice how Whole Foods feels like walking into a church for food lovers? The lighting is soft, the air smells fresh, and those big green labels practically whisper in your ear. You're making the smart, safe choice. Folks push carts with their heads high, feeling just a little better about themselves because they grabbed the pricey organic beef instead of the store-brand mystery meat. And why not? You're paying more for that peace of mind, right? But here's the gut punch. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wants you to hear loud and clear. Don't ever buy meat from these grocery stores again. And suddenly you start to wonder if even Whole Foods can betray that trust. Where in the world is it safe to shop anymore? The USDA confirmed that Whole Foods' very own organic ground beef tested positive for E. coli. Yes, the same beef that's supposed to be rancher raised and squeaky clean was carrying a bacteria that can lead to kidney failure. Imagine standing at your stove, browning that beef for dinner, thinking you're feeding your family something pure, when in reality you might as well be rolling the dice at a casino with your health. What does that say about the rest of the meat aisle if this is what passes as the premium standard? Kennedy's Make America Healthy Again campaign isn't some fancy slogan tossed around for attention. He's furious because this isn't about a rare slip-up, but a system that lets dangerous meat slide through even at a store where customers are practically guilt-tripped into paying extra for safety. And you have to ask yourself, if the high-dollar beef isn't safe, what's hiding in the bargain bin packages folks on tight budgets have no choice but to buy? That thought alone is enough to make your stomach twist harder than a cheap gas station hot dog. And if you think ditching beef for plant-based food is your escape hatch, think again. Those field roast plant-based deli slices sitting so proudly in Whole Foods chilled cases are no saint either. Packed with things like methyl cellulose and soy legemoglobin, which means ingredients cooked up in labs to mimic meat, they're lumped into the same ultra-processed category as sugary cereals and microwave dinners. So while you're patting yourself on the back for choosing healthy, you're actually eating something built more like a science fair project than real food. Kinda makes you laugh, doesn't it? Like slapping a farm fresh sticker on a frozen TV dinner and calling it honest. If a store like Whole Foods, which practically preaches health like gospel, also can't keep its own promises, who's left to trust? And that's exactly the uneasy question Kennedy forces us to stare down. If even the good guy of grocery stores is letting danger sneak onto the shelves, what ugly surprises are waiting for us in the next chain we're about to talk about? You might want to hold on tight because the deeper we go, the worse it gets. Number 2. Costco. Costco knows exactly how to lure you in, doesn't it? Walk through those giant warehouse doors and the smell of that famous rotisserie chicken practically grabs you by the nose and drags you to the back of the store. People line up by the dozens, almost elbowing each other just to grab that golden brown bird for only $4.99. It feels like you're beating the system by getting a hot, ready-to-eat meal for less than the price of a drive-through combo. But Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s warning cuts through the delicious aroma like a cold knife. Because that cheap chicken isn't as innocent as it looks. The secret no one wants to talk about is the salt and phosphate soak. Each bird is pumped full of a brine rich in sodium triphosphate, a chemical that makes the meat stay juicy under those glowing heat lamps for hours. That same trick that keeps the chicken looking plump and mouth-watering is also dumping an alarming amount of sodium into your body. Just one serving before you even touch the mashed potatoes or gravy can give you nearly a third of your recommended daily salt intake. That's not dinner, but a ticking time bomb for anyone with blood pressure problems. And while Costco proudly slaps all natural across its marketing, those injected phosphates are nowhere to be found on the front label. Health experts have been sounding the alarm for years. Eating phosphate-treated meats too often can lead to water retention, blood pressure spikes, and eventually put strain on your heart and kidneys. Picture it this way. Every bite of that cheap chicken could be like quietly adding another brick to the wall closing in on your cardiovascular health. Makes that bargain seem a little less sweet, doesn't it? Kind of like buying a used car because it's shiny, only to find out later the engine's been leaking oil for months. And here's what really stings. Costco has built a reputation as the good guy of warehouse shopping, a place where people believe they're getting quality at a fair price. But if they're willing to cut corners here, what other compromises are they hiding behind the shelves? That's the part Kennedy wants you to question. Because if Whole Foods, the so-called health temple, is already letting E. coli sneak through and Costco's best-selling chicken is quietly spiking heart risks, how many more ugly truths are waiting for us down this grocery aisle nightmare? You might want to hold on to that shopping cart because the next stop only gets darker. Number 3. Kroger. Funny how Kroger feels like the friendly neighbor of grocery stores, isn't it? Bright aisles, affordable prices, and a sense that you're getting honest food for honest money. You grab those neatly wrapped Tyson chicken breasts or pork chops without thinking twice, almost patting yourself on the back for making a sensible choice. But that comfort cracks the moment you learn what's hiding under those sealed packages. The truth is, enough to turn your stomach, much of that meat is raised on a steady diet of low-dose antibiotics, not for curing sickness, but to keep animals alive in cramped conditions and to fatten them up faster. According to the FDA, about 80% of all antibiotics sold in the United States go to animals we eat, and 70% of those belong to classes of drugs critical for human medicine. Let that sink in for a moment. Every bite of that family dinner chicken could be another tiny push toward a future where our own medicines stop working. Health experts warn that this constant non-therapeutic dosing is fueling antibiotic-resistant superbugs. And here's the nightmare, those superbugs don't care if your meat came from a bargain freezer or a premium label. They don't respect brand names or price tags. That pre-packaged Tyson meat sitting so innocently in Kroger's coolers, it's carrying a risk you can't see, one that no quality guaranteed sticker can wash away. And if you think swapping the raw stuff for fancy deli meat saves you, think again. Slide a pack of boar's head ham into your cart, and you're greeted with big, bold promises like all natural. But scratch that pretty label, and you find sodium nitrite used to keep that ham's perfect pink color, and stretch its shelf life quietly lurking inside. When cooked nitrites can form nitrosamines compounds linked to cancer in lab studies. If that's not enough to make you drop your sandwich, here's another punch. Consumer Reports recently found PFAS, those so-called forever chemicals, in the very wrappers keeping these deli meats fresh. PFAS don't just vanish, they creep into your food, build up in your body, and are linked to hormonal problems, immune disruption, and you guessed it, increased cancer risks. You'd think premium would mean safer, but here it feels more like paying extra for chemicals you never asked for. That glossy package might as well be laughing at us because we're paying more to feed ourselves preservatives and plastics we'd rather toss in the trash. Want to avoid that mess? The better choice is simpler than you think. Freshly sliced roast from a local butcher or brands that proudly use paper packaging and cellulose casings instead of chemical-laden wraps. When your lunch meat comes dressed in plastic and artificial color, the word premium starts to sound like the punchline to a bad joke. And if this is what's sitting behind Kroger's trusted counters, just imagine what's waiting in the next store down the line. You might want to take a deep breath, because the deeper we go, the more you'll wish you hadn't trusted those clean, shiny shelves. Number 4. Safeway. Safeway has always carried that reassuring air of a neighborhood grocery store. Bright signs, family-friendly deals, and shelves stocked with trusted American classics. And nothing screams classic louder than Nathan's or Oscar Mayer hot dogs. They're practically backyard barbecue royalty, wrapped in nostalgia and the smell of summer cookouts. But once you peel back the cheerful packaging, the story turns far less appetizing, because what these Franks deliver in flavor might also be quietly chipping away at your health, one bite at a time. Take Nathan's frozen beef Franks, for example. Each one packs up to 650 milligrams of sodium, nearly a third of what the American Heart Association recommends for an entire day. That's before you even pile on mustard or reach for a salty side. The Franks rely on sodium nitrite, the same preservative that keeps them pink and appealing under store lights. But sodium nitrite doesn't just stop at keeping meat pretty. It can form nitrosamines inside the body, compounds scientists classify as probable carcinogens. If that doesn't make you stop mid-bite, consider the catch-all label of natural flavor. Sounds innocent, right? But it's a legal loophole letting manufacturers hide ingredient details behind a bland phrase that tells you absolutely nothing about what's actually in there. A Harvard study from 2024 went so far as to link frequent hot dog consumption to early markers of colorectal cancer, echoing decades of warnings about processed meats. Makes you wonder if that summer barbecue staple is really worth the gamble. And Nathan's isn't the only one raising eyebrows. Oscar Mayer hot dogs, a Safeway bestseller, aren't any kinder to your body. Each Frank holds around 570 milligrams of sodium and leans on sodium nitrite to keep that familiar pink hue. When cooked at high heat, exactly how most of us prepare them, those nitrites can form the same nitrosamines that health authorities have been warning us about for years. Research keeps piling up. A 2023 meta-analysis tied frequent hot dog consumption to early markers of colorectal cancer and even endothelial dysfunction, which is linked to heart problems. And let's not forget the cardiovascular strain from consistently loading your body with processed sodium-heavy meats. The worst part: these risks aren't obvious when you're standing in Safeway's aisle staring at colorful packages promising quality and tradition. It's easy to think an occasional hot dog won't hurt, and maybe it won't, but it's the slow, steady build-up meal after meal that's the real danger. Those shiny Safeway shelves might look innocent, but sometimes the biggest risks come not from what you can see, but from what's buried in the fine print. And if hot dogs can carry this kind of baggage, just imagine what other so-called family favorites might be hiding as we keep moving down this grocery aisle of disappointments. Number 5. Publix. Publix markets itself as the warm, dependable face of grocery shopping. Bright aisles, polite cashiers, and shelves filled with familiar comforts. And few comforts feel as American as a sizzling strip of Smithfield hickory-smoked bacon in the morning. The smell alone is enough to pull even the sleepiest person out of bed, and that satisfying crunch almost feels like a small reward at the start of the day. But here's the part no one likes to think about. The delicious crunch is the result of a chemical process that carries a cost far bigger than the price tag on the package. Smithfield bacon is cured with sodium nitrite and potassium nitrate additives designed to keep its color rosy and its flavor smoky. But when that bacon hits a hot pan, just the way most of us love it, those same additives can transform into nitrosamines compounds the World Health Organization classifies as probable carcinogens. And this isn't just scientists splitting hairs over lab data. The American Cancer Society has linked regular consumption of nitrite-cured meats to significantly higher colorectal cancer risks, up to 50% more, depending on how often you eat them. That's a terrifying thought for something as ordinary as breakfast, isn't it? You might say, well, I only eat bacon in moderation. But what does moderation even mean when it quietly piles up week after week, year after year? One strip on Saturday turns into 3 or 4 mornings a week, and suddenly you're not just frying breakfast, you're stacking the odds against yourself. And here's where it gets trickier. Even so-called natural or uncured options can be misleading. Many brands simply swap out sodium nitrite for nitrate-rich celery juice, which under high heat can still form the same dangerous byproducts. It's like swapping a wolf for a dog in sheep's clothing, different costumes, same bite. So when you toss that pack of Smithfield into your Publix cart, maybe the better question isn't just does it taste good, but what am I really putting on that frying pan? The sad truth is, bacon has been sold to us as comfort, as tradition, as a simple joy. But once you peel away the smoky aroma and crispy texture, it's hard not to wonder if we've been cheering for the wrong team all along. And if even breakfast, the meal we're supposed to trust the most, comes with risks hidden beneath its golden strips. Just imagine what else these grocery aisles are quietly serving up as we keep moving forward. Number 6. Sprouts. Sprouts loves to sell the image of being that wholesome, health-conscious stop for the everyday shopper. Bright bins of nuts, rows of organic greens, and snacks that practically shout clean eating from their labels. And sitting there on the shelf, Boulder Canyon's pork rinds look like the perfect guilt-free treat with that comforting all-natural stamp front and center. But peel away the marketing gloss, and the reality isn't as crisp as the snack itself. Because sometimes the danger doesn't come from artificial colors or preservatives. It comes from the very oil those crunchy skins are cooked in. Boulder Canyon pork rinds are fried in high linoleic seed oils like sunflower or canola. Sure, those oils are praised by manufacturers for being neutral and cheap, but what happens when they're pushed to frying temperatures is anything but harmless. Under high heat, these seed oils break down into oxidized lipids and reactive compounds, the kind of byproducts that quietly damage the lining of your blood vessels. Fuel inflammation and strain circulation over time. Think of it as pouring sugar into a car engine. It runs for a while, but inside parts are wearing down faster than you can see. And the worst part, you'd never know it from the cheery packaging. Independent lab tests have shown that snacks fried in these seed oils deliver a heavier load of oxidation byproducts compared to those cooked in more stable fats like tallow or coconut oil. So while Boulder Canyon proudly avoids artificial flavorings, the frying oil alone tells a different story. And that all-natural label, it might as well be winking at you, knowing you'll never stop to ask what kind of oil actually hit the fryer. For anyone who truly wants simple, clean ingredients, the lesson is straightforward. Don't just read the front label, look deeper. Snacks fried in heat-stable fats, or better yet, unprocessed proteins and nuts, are a smarter bet for keeping inflammation triggers at bay. Because at the end of the day, a clean label means nothing if the cooking chemistry is dirty. And if even a supposedly healthy snack at Sprouts hides this kind of surprise, you have to wonder what other secrets are sitting quietly in those neatly arranged aisles. As we push further along this trail of disappointment, number 7. Aldi E. Heb has built its reputation as the dependable hometown store, the kind of place where you feel like you're buying quality food for your family without breaking the bank. And when you see Padu Cornish game hens sitting neatly in the cooler, they look like something special, a little gourmet upgrade, a nice change from the usual chicken dinner. But here's the part, the shiny packaging won't tell you the story of how these birds are raised, might leave more than just flavor behind on your plate. Cornish game hens are pushed to market weight in just 5 to 6 weeks, a growth sprint driven by selective breeding and crammed barns where every square foot counts. Think about that for a second. What does it take to make a bird grow that unnaturally fast? Scientific studies have shown that chickens raised in these high-density, high-pressure environments experience a massive surge in corticosterone, the primary avian stress hormone. And that stress doesn't magically disappear at the processing plant. Research into poultry welfare suggests that elevated corticosterone can accumulate in muscle tissue, potentially altering the meat's biochemistry and promoting inflammation in the people who eat it. So while the meat technically meets food safety standards, what you're really biting into could carry a quiet, hormonal baggage no one talks about. It's a strange thought, isn't it? We like to believe we're just eating chicken, but the way an animal lives leaves its mark. If birds are packed shoulder to shoulder in barns, constantly stressed, pumped up to grow like little feathered bodybuilders, what exactly are we putting on our plates besides protein? It makes you wonder if that gourmet hen is really worth bragging about when the hidden cost might be something your own body has to pay for later. The better choice. Look for labels that point to lower stocking densities, pasture access, or third-party welfare certifications. Those aren't just marketing buzzwords, they often mean the birds endured less chronic stress, which can translate into cleaner, less hormonally burdened meat. Because at the end of the day, how an animal lives shapes what you're actually eating. And if even something as small and fancy looking as a Cornish game hen at Hebe can carry this kind of invisible baggage, it makes you wonder what other quiet secrets are sitting on those shelves waiting for us to take them home without a second thought. Number 8. Aldi. Aldi has earned its loyal following by promising what so many families desperately need: affordable groceries that keep dinner on the table without draining the wallet. And for many, a package of Cargill ground beef feels like the perfect answer, budget-friendly, easy to cook, and versatile enough for anything from spaghetti sauce to tacos. But as comforting as that red package may look, sitting in the cooler, history tells a different story, one that should make you pause before tossing it into your cart. In 2018, Cargill recalled over 130,000 pounds of ground beef sold across multiple retailers, including Aldi, after it was linked to an E. coli outbreak that left dozens sick. And just when shoppers might have hoped those lessons were learned, another recall struck in 2024 when routine tests flagged contamination yet again. The USDA's Food Safety and Inspection Service has been clear about why this keeps happening: high-speed, high-volume production lines, the kind used to keep costs low, create perfect conditions for pathogens to slip past even the strictest routine inspections. It's a numbers game, and in that game, consumers are the ones holding the losing ticket. Think about what that really means. Every pack of ground beef, no matter how fresh it looks or how cheap the price, carries a hidden gamble. You can cook it thoroughly, sure, and you absolutely should. But once contamination is in the system, no home kitchen can erase the fact that those pathogens were there in the first place. And when it comes to something as serious as E. coli, budget-friendly suddenly doesn't sound so friendly, does it? It's like buying a car with faulty brakes just because it was on sale. You save money up front, but you might pay the ultimate price later. If you're staring at the meat case, wondering what to do, the better move is to seek out retailers that source from plants with proven safety records, or when possible, choose smaller batch or local options, where the production pace doesn't push safety to the back seat. A few extra dollars might sting in the moment, but that's nothing compared to the cost of a hospital visit, or the lasting fear that follows a bad outbreak. Aldi might win the price war, but when it comes to your family's health, some bargains simply aren't worth the risk. Number 9. Wegmans. Wegmans has built a reputation as the polished, trustworthy choice for shoppers who care about what goes into their carts. And Applegate Naturals, with its bold "no antibiotics ever" label, fits perfectly into that image. Those clean, tidy packages of chicken breasts and thighs practically beam with health-conscious confidence, convincing customers they're buying something safer, cleaner, better. But here's the uncomfortable truth that doesn't fit on the pretty label. Antibiotic-free doesn't mean chemical-free, and the process behind that promise might not be as clean as it looks. Investigations by the Natural Resources Defense Council tested samples of so-called natural poultry and found residues of quaternary ammonium compounds, QACs for short, on multiple brands, including those with antibiotic-free claims. These aren't antibiotics. They're powerful disinfectants used in antimicrobial washes to kill bacteria on equipment and carcasses during processing. And unlike antibiotics, QACs don't have to be disclosed on the label, so that chicken you proudly serve your family might carry trace amounts of chemicals you didn't even know were there. Sure, these washes help reduce pathogens, but studies have warned that even low-level exposure over time could contribute to microbial resistance and irritate the digestive system. Think about that for a second. You've gone out of your way to avoid antibiotic-fed chicken, believing you're doing the right thing, only to find out a different class of antimicrobial chemicals slipped in through the back door. It's like carefully locking your front door every night while leaving the windows wide open, false security that could cost you later. And that's the larger problem with marketing buzzwords. No antibiotics ever sounds reassuring, but it tells you nothing about what happens after the bird leaves the farm. The clean, wholesome image masks the fact that processing methods can still load your food with chemical residues no one bothers to mention. For shoppers who truly want transparency, the solution isn't blind trust in labels, it's reading between the lines. Look for poultry that specifies no antimicrobial washes, or better yet, buy from producers with third-party certifications, verifying every step of their processing methods. Because if the whole point of paying extra for clean chicken is to protect your family, shouldn't you be sure that it's truly as clean as you're being led to believe? And if even Wegman's, one of the most trusted names in grocery, can let this kind of loophole slide, it makes you wonder what other hidden shortcuts are waiting quietly behind the labels we've been taught to trust. The shiny aisles, the smiling labels they've been selling us trust, while hiding risks that land right on our plates. Now you know better. Don't let these stores decide what's safe for your family. Stay alert, stay informed, and join us here. Subscribe now, because your health deserves the truth they won't tell.
Thanks so much for sticking with us to the very end. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe so you won't miss any of our daily updates. And now feel free to check out some of our latest and most popular videos showing up on your screen. Goodbye, and see you in the next one.